Gop, punten gop Pak.
Iya,
Mau ini sih aku mau apa? Make sure ke Kaiki aja. Kaiki ada lagi ini nggak?
Yep, halo.
Mau make sure nih. Di nanti kan aku akan ada bacain CV-nya Kaiki. Kira-kira aku mau coba bacain dulu. Nanti Kaiki ini aja koreksi, takutnya bisa ada yang salah sebut. Mungkin di sini pertama aku akan mention ini sih.
Ini aku di-invite ke room 1 nih oleh Sekat.
Kak Sekar kepencet tadi ya? Enggak. Oke, aku lanjut ya. Udah strip. Oh.
Apa-apa sebutin yang Bapenas aja sama apa research experience mungkin, in development studies mungkin, sama apa ya, lupa isi CV-ku. Nggak apa-apa, yang paling relevan aja, yang paling baru ya.
Oke, siap.
Ya, oke, thank you. Aku pindah dulu ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, we cordially invite you to be seated in front of your devices because in a few minutes, the event will begin.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Muarif from Universitas Padjadjaran, and I'm here with my partner.
Hello, my name is Fatur. I'm also from Universitas Padjadjaran.
It's a wonderful and precious change for us to be our master of ceremony in this beautiful afternoon at the Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, Chapter Universitas Padjadjaran, ET Time with the Russian Ambassador to Indonesia.
A brief recap, Tea Time with Ambassador is an annual event conducted by the Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, Chapter Universitas Padjadjaran. This year's Tea Time with the Ambassador will discuss the Indonesian-Russian security nexus, threats, and opportunities amidst the COVID-19 pandemic.
And it's an honor for us to inform you that among us here, we have Her Excellency, the Russian Ambassador to Indonesia, Ms. H.E. Lyudmila Vorobeyova, Manager of Learning and Student Affairs, Faculty of Social and Politics Science, Universitas Padjadjaran, Mr. Cecep Safaatul Barkah, SIP MAB MBA, and the President of FCCI Chapter Universitas Padjadjaran, Yasminur Habibah. And last, we also welcome all participants of this webinar.
Before we start the event, I would like to inform you that there are rules that we all here must follow, including one, the event will be conducted in English, and all participants are expected to use English language. And then, kindly make sure that you have a stable connection, but if there's trouble, you could inform to the committee. Next one, for our participants, you are required to turn off the microphone, and we recommend you to turn on the camera during the event. 4, the participants are required to change the display name into full name _ organization or institution name. And the last one is, the participants are encouraged to ask a question on the question and answer session using the chat box feature down below. Kindly introduce yourself before asking. Or you are also allowed to use the raise hand feature and ask the question by yourself. That's all for the Zoom participants rules.
And because this event is also broadcast live on YouTube, I will also read out some rules for our participants on the YouTube live stream. First, the event will be conducted in English, and all participants are expected to use English. And then for all participants, we encourage you to use your original YouTube account. And third, all participants are welcome to greet in the YouTube live chat by mentioning name and institution. And then you can ask the question using the live chat feature down below. And you may begin to ask the presentation, and then the moderator will collect the question in the Q&A session. That's all. Thank you and enjoy this ET Time with the Ambassador.
Ladies and gentlemen, to start the event, let's welcome Mr. Cecep Safaatul Barkah, SIP MAB MBA, as the Manager of Learning and Students Affairs, Faculty of Social and Political Science of Universitas Padjadjaran, for the welcoming remarks representing our university. For Mr. Cecep Safaatul Barkah, SIP MAB MBA, the time and screen is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. How about my voice? Is it clear?
Very clear, sir.
Thank you. Okay, Her Excellency Mrs. Lyudmila Vorobeyova, the Ambassador of Russian Federation to the Republic of Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for to each and every one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased to be able to welcome all the participants to the ET Time with Ambassador 2021, held by Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, Chapter Universitas Padjadjaran. I'm Cecep Safaatul Barkah. I'm here as the Manager of Academic and Student Affairs of the Faculty of Political and Social Science, Universitas Padjadjaran. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, the issues of global security has shifted to the newest concept, the concept of non-traditional security. In the modern time, security is understood as a term which concerns all layers of state, including the people. Today, not only the military issues, the security discourse also discuss about other issues, especially economic and environmental issues. On the positive side, the Russian Federation has cooperated with the Republic of Indonesia in many aspects, which turns both countries as regional powers. Moreover, in today's situation, during the COVID-19, it is important to see and forecast the cooperation between the two countries, as numerous of security challenges has come to determine the right action to do and where both countries are heading to achieve the similar goals. Ladies and gentlemen, through this activity, we are going to listen and learn directly from the ambassador, Her Excellency Mrs. Vorobufiova, regarding the actual fake and emerging issues currently discussed between Russia and Indonesia. This is an opportunity to all participants to be actively involved during the discussion session. Please take notes and each explanation by the Madam Ambassador. Enjoy the day and wish to seek a fruitful session ahead. So in my speech, I wish all the committees and participants good luck. Wish to see you on another memorable event. Thank you very much, and I'm going to give the time and screen back to the Master of Ceremony. Ms. Vorobia, I'm so sorry. I do apologize because I have a next agenda. I would like to leave for at this time. Thank you for your coming. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Safaatur Barkah, for the welcoming remarks. For the next speech, we are also honored to have Ms. Yasmin Nur Habibah as the President of FVCI Chapter UNPAD 2021 to deliver the welcoming remarks. For Ms. Yasmin, time and place is yours.
Thank you, Muarif, and also thank you, Fatur. Her Excellency, Mrs. Ludmila Vorobiyova, the Ambassador of Russian Federation to the Republic of Indonesia. Also, Mr. Cecep Safaatur Barkah as the Manager of Academic and Student Affairs of the Faculty of Political and Social Science, Universitas Padjadjaran. Mr. Equilibrium Tampu Bolon as our moderator, and also ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. We are very happy to be able to welcome all of you, the participants of the ET Time with the Ambassador 2021, held by the Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, Chapter Universitas Padjadjaran. My name is Yasmin Nur Habibah. This year, I'm being the president of this FVCI Chapter UNPAD, and I'm here very happy to welcome all of you. The new discourse of global security has introduced to the newest concept of the non-traditional security. And in the modern time today, security is understood as a term which concerns all layers of the state, including the people. Meanwhile, for the past years, we see that the Russian Federation and also the Republic of Indonesia have been kindling their relationship, leading to numerous cooperation between the two regional powers. Such relations were driven by a nexus or an equilibrium of interest, and one of them is security. Both Russia and Indonesia are located in geographically and politically strategic territories, and it's explaining the urge to work together in order to bring the stability, especially for the Asia-Pacific region. Through this activity, the ET Time with the Ambassador, we are very hoping that all the participants can get a direct resources from the Madam Ambassador regarding how actually the dynamics of the relationship between the Russia and also the Indonesia. So this is a very unique and also rare opportunity for all the participants to get an additional knowledge and also to actively involve in the discussion session. So please take notes on each the explanation by the Madam of Ambassador and enjoy the day and wish to seek a very fruitful discussion ahead. To end my speech, I would like to say thank you for all the committee and also for all the participants. And I'm going to give my time and screen back to the MC. Fatur and Ma'arif.
Thank you, Ms. Yasmin. We all felt very warm from your speech. Now, let's capture the moment with a photo session. For participants who have not turned on their camera, you can turn on your camera and you can show us your beautiful faces. I'll give you some minutes for you to get ready to take photos. All right, we're still waiting for some participants to turn on their camera. All right, please. We could take the photo session right now. It's already 2 pages.
Okay, I'm going to start from the first slide. And 3, 2, 1. Next slide. 3, 2, 1. And the last one. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dima, who has guided the photo session.
Okay, for our next agenda, the most awaited session, we will meet the Excellency Ms. H.E. Lyudmila Vorobyova. We really hope that you guys will be active in the Q&A session, as there will be gift for the active participant. Moving on, our next session will be taken over by our incredible moderator, Kak Eki. Okay, operator, could you please share the CV? Okay. Equilibrium Tampu Bolon, also called Kak Eki, is a bachelor degree in international relations from Universitas Padjadjaran. Currently, he is working as the substance support officer at the Directorate for Multilateral Funding Cooperation, Ministry of National Development Planning. Kak Eki got many awards and was involved in various researches, including the study on provision of the internet access to last mile user in Indonesia at Center for Participatory Development Research in 2021. And Kak Eki is also have a lot of interested, like national interested and international interested. And I think that's enough. And hello, Kak Eki. How are you?
Hi, hello, Mari.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kak Eki, thank you so much for attending the event. And without further ado, time and place is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the committee. Hello, my name is Equilibrium Tampu Bolon. You can call me Eki for short. Of course, you've had many introduction from our committee in regards to what our topic today will be and what the background will be. But in essence, our discussion today will be on the Indonesian-Russian security nexus, threats and opportunities amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Please have your tea ready. We will be having a pleasant conversation with our speaker without being too stiff, but of course, while also maintaining courtesy. Next, please allow me to introduce our speaker for today, Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador Lyudmila Vorobyova. Madam Ambassador is a graduate of Moscow Institute of International Relations. She has been with the diplomatic service since 1989. She has toured Asia. She has many experience in Asia, being a minister counselor in 2005, from 2005 to 2007 in the Russian embassy in Thailand, an ambassador for the Russian Federation in Malaysia from 2010 to 2015, a Director General for the Third Asian Department in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russian Federation from 2015 to 2018, and from 2018 until now, an ambassador of the Russian Federation for the Republic of Indonesia. Madam Ambassador is fluent in English, French, Lao, and Thai. And I'm wondering, Madam Ambassador, whether Bahasa Indonesia will be added to this list anytime soon, remembering that you and your diplomatic staff sung Rayuan Pulau Kelapa in your embassy last August, I suppose. So, Madam Ambassador, hello. I'd just like to make sure that you're here with us. Okay. So yeah, Madam Ambassador, I suppose we can have our discussion now, and I, without further ado, just give the floor and time for you to deliver your remarks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your introduction. Answering your question about Bahasa, well, unfortunately, at a certain age, it gets too difficult to study another foreign language, but I'm still not losing hope. I'm still studying. Of course, I just grasped some basic phrases. And I would also like to mention that I also spent 10 years in Laos, actually, before being minister counselor in Thailand. So I have 28 years of experience in Southeast Asia, which in a sense became my second home. It's a lovely region. The people are wonderful. And Indonesia is one of the best countries in my experience. Thank you so much once again for inviting me to this very meaningful event and for your interest towards Russia and the foreign policy of Russia. Actually, I was asked also to talk about the Russian Federation's strategy to bring peace and stability in the Asia Pacific. But not only to Asia Pacific, but to the world, I would say. So I will give you an idea of how we see the current global situation. And also I will, of course, give you an idea of how we see the development of relationship between Russia and Indonesia. And then, of course, I will be happy to answer your questions if I can. Dear friends, Russia and Indonesia, as you know, have had a long history of relationship, which are traditionally based on principles of friendship, mutual understanding, and trust. They go as far as in history as the 60s of the last century, especially under the President Suharto leadership, who visited our country 4 times. Actually, the song Rayuan Pulau Kelapa, the reason why we sang it, because it became a sort of symbol of friendship between our two countries. It has been translated into Russian, and the generation of our fathers and mothers, they all know this song in Russian. In Russian, it's called Indonesia, My Love, by the way. So that sort of shows the attitude of Russian people towards Indonesia. And this feeling of mutual respect that our two nations have for each other remains unchanged until present. last year we celebrated the 70th anniversary of our diplomatic relations. And of course, in Russia, we see Indonesia as one of our key partners in the Asia-Pacific region and among ASEAN countries. We share very similar views on many things that are currently going on in the world. And that was proved in a perfect way by our very productive cooperation when Indonesia was the non-permanent member of the Security Council in year 2019-2020. One of the examples of our very tight cooperation in the framework of the Security Council was the way we prevented the snapback of the sanctions against Iran, which was initiated by the United States, but taking joint efforts together with other members of the Security Council. This was prevented because it was, of course, not fair and not matching the norms and rules of international law. As I mentioned, I was asked to share with you the Russian Federation views on how to bring peace and stability to the Asia-Pacific. Actually, what I'm going to say applies not only to the Asia-Pacific, but other regions in the world as well. Now we're witnessing a totally new stage in global development, which was the transition, I think, was very much accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic. We are seeing now the emerging of a new architecture in international relations that theoretically has the potential to be much more balanced and fair than the previous one. What do I mean actually by this? I mean that new centers of economic power and financial might are strengthening their positions together with their political influence. Such countries and their organizations achieve impressive success in different areas, beginning from creating high technologies to modernizing their healthcare systems and eradicating poverty. These centers of power ensure their development basing on strong sovereignty and civilizational and cultural identity. Just to illustrate this shift in the balance of power in the world, it's sufficient to say that in the last 30 years, the part of G7 countries in the global economy has decreased significantly from 46 to 30%. China is emerging as #1 economy, and the main focus of global economic activity has shifted from the Euro-Atlantic region to the Asia-Pacific. That for some reasons, some parties are trying to remain as Indo-Pacific region. Well, if you have questions on the views of Russia on the Indo-Pacific concepts, maybe I can answer that later. So the trend of a new multipolar world order is highlighting that there will be no end of history, as you know, has been predicted after the end of Cold War by, for instance, Fukuyama. It is clear now that there can be no universal recipes to ensure development of all states and nations. The COVID pandemic has dispersed the misperception that the ultra-liberal model based on individualism and controlled free market and moral relativity has no alternative. On the contrary, countries who possess well-formulated national interests, strong government, where society and elites support traditional ethical values and development goals, turned out to be in a much better position. So now we see that ultra-liberal approaches which deny basic social and family institutions are being rejected by people in the majority of the countries in the world, including Europe, actually, who came out with this ultra-liberal model in the first place. Today, most of international problems are transnational by nature. Besides COVID, of course, there are terrorism, cyber, and other types of organized crime, illegal migration, numerous regional conflicts, and that is not all. We can overcome these challenges only together, that is obvious, by joint efforts of the international community on the basis of principles stipulated in the UN Charter and international law, and not some rules-based order. With this rules-based order, the question is who will establish these rules? Will it be Russia? Will it be Indonesia? It's obvious that the question is no. And why countries should follow the orders formulated by someone else? What is wrong with international law? For us in Russia, it's absolutely evident that bloc structures, be them old or new, are not able to deal with modern challenges. It is not by chance that key issues of global agenda are being discussed in the framework of inclusive international forums that comprise all trends of political thought and practice. And one, of course, example of that is the G20, which role has increased significantly. And next year, as we all know, Indonesia will be hosting G20 summit. We are looking forward to that. And we hope that our president also, Vladimir Putin, can visit Indonesia in conjunction with the summit. Countries that are members of G77, BRICS, are also part of this forum. Most of them share the philosophy of multilateralism. I would also like to mention the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and Eurasian Economic Union. In these organizations, there are no mentors and pupils. They operate according to principles of voluntary participation and consensus. No one is forcing anyone to vote in unison just to preserve solidarity. Multipolar world is becoming a reality. It is being acknowledged by all rationally thinking observers. And it is in our common interest to do so that this new world is not based on fear, like it used to be in the Cold War times, but on the balance of interest, which should be worked out in universal and inclusive formats according to the international law. I would say that this is a wish for a global diplomatic concept, synergy of different national cultures and traditions. Once again, I would like to underline the necessity of keeping the UN central and coordinating role. This kind of approach, from our point of view, corresponds best of all to the trend towards democratization of international relations. Only a true democratic world where there is respect for sovereignty and equality of all states, be it large or small, can ensure their stable and safe development. Russia actually has introduced the notion of inclusive security, which means that security of one country cannot be ensured to the detriment of security of another country. So all countries have the right for their national interests to be respected and their security ensured. Unfortunately, Western world, US and their allies are still trying to preserve their unilateral dominance in the world, despite the obvious fact that they're not able to do so. And the recent example is the epic failure of the US in Afghanistan. So it took 20 years for US presidents and hundreds of billions of dollars to change Taliban for Taliban. And we see that also very recent events that new exclusive mechanisms are being established and promoted. The recent one is, of course, the trilateral defense pact between the US, UK, and Australia, the AUKUS, of course, the Quad, and these exclusive mechanisms are resulting in appearance of new division lines in the region and in the world. This kind of strategies potentially could lead to a new global split. And those who are implementing these policies don't realize or don't want to realize that the only way to achieve prosperity of their own people lies through establishing true and equal interaction with other actors on the global arena, even if they have differences of views on some of the issues. These differences should be solved in the way of dialogue and not coercion or sanctions or military intervention. We can see wherever there was military intervention from the US and their allies, it turned into a total mess, beginning from Libya, Iraq, now Afghanistan. The situation has become much worse than it used to be before this military intervention, and of course, a huge loss of people in millions is also one of the tragic results of these interventions. Russia is totally against this kind of solutions or policies. I don't have much time, so now I will go to part 2 of my presentation on our bilateral relations with Indonesia. As I mentioned, in Russia, we see Indonesia as our key partner in Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. Not only we cooperated tightly in, as I said already, in the United Nations Security Council, but for the last 3 years, Indonesia successfully helped Russia to promote our strategic partnership with ASEAN. Actually, this year we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of our dialogue partnership with ASEAN, because Indonesia in the last 3 years was the coordinator of ASEAN-Russia dialogue partnership. Now this function has been handed out over to Cambodia. Actually, our bilateral negotiation in all the area is developing in line with the agreements reached during the meetings between the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and the President of the Republic Indonesia, Bapak Joko Widodo, which took place twice in person in the last few years. It was in Sochi in May 2016 and in Singapore in November 2018. Last year, they had a telephone conversation in April, which actually was focused on the ways to fight COVID-19. And we're looking forward, as I also said, to the visit of our president to Indonesia. It should have taken place last year in conjunction with the celebration of our 70th anniversary, but because unfortunately the COVID pandemic destroyed all the plans. The visit was postponed, but it's on the agenda for bilateral relations, and hopefully when the situation allows, probably next year, this visit will take place. And we intend to sign the Declaration on Strategic Partnership between Russia and Indonesia. And the text of this declaration has already been coordinated between the two countries. As you know, also, we have a very active dialogue between our two ministries of foreign affairs. In 2018, Ibu Retno Marsudi, the foreign minister of Indonesia, visited Moscow, and very recently in July this year, a minister of foreign affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, had meetings with the president of Indonesia, Bapak Joko Widodo, of course, with Ibu Retno, and Secretary General of ASEAN, Mr. Lim Jock Hoi. I'm really happy to say that in line with the agreements reached during the meetings with the Indonesian leadership, the National Food and Drug Agency of Indonesia in August this year issued the authorization to use Russian vaccine Sputnik V in your country. We appreciate this decision, which is a good sign of our friendly relation and is one of the dimension of security, of course. The health security, which turned out to be very neglected probably before the COVID-19, and now we all understand how important it is. As you know, Sputnik V was one of the first anti-COVID vaccines developed in the world. And despite all the criticism that has been targeted at Sputnik V, so far it has proved to be one of the most efficient and safe vaccines in the world. 95% efficiency and practically no side effects. So we are happy to share our knowledge with our Indonesian friends, and hopefully it would help our joint efforts to fight the pandemic. I will not linger long on our trade and economic ties, which are developing quite well, actually. This year, we see 30% of increase of our trade volume if you compare to last year, the same period. But of course, if you consider our combined population or more than 400 million people, $2 billion trade is not enough. Our leaders have set the target to reach $5 billion which are we're working on, and our economies are complement each other. You have things that we don't have, and we're happy to share products that you don't produce, and of course high technology products. I would highlight some areas that have great potential, and first of all is energy, of course, and probably nuclear energy. I know now there's discussions in Indonesia going on whether to use nuclear energy or not. I can tell you that in our country, and you know that Russia is very rich in conventional in oil, gas, and coal. Still 20% of our electricity is generated by nuclear facilities. We were the first country that had a commercial nuclear plant, which started to operate in the 50s. And since then, we learned our lessons on the security. You know that Chernobyl tragedy happened, but it was 30 years ago. Since then, our nuclear facilities have become 5 times safer. And we have also experience in helping our foreign partners in building this kind of facilities. Now, currently, we have 12 programs in different countries, including Finland, Turkey, Iran, Bangladesh, Uzbekistan, and others. So even when Indonesia will be ready to use nuclear energy, we will be ready to happen. And energy security is also one of the dimensions of security, besides the conventional understanding of this term. Also, we are currently implementing several investments projects in Indonesia. It is construction of a refinery and petrochemical complex in Tuban. Also, one of our companies is currently working on exploitation of oil and gas reserves in South China Sea, in the Natuna Islands. We have some Russian IT businesses that are conducting their activities quite successfully in Russia. For instance, maybe you've seen the Maxim taxi. It is in many cities of Indonesia, more than 60 cities, and this online taxi service is operated by a Russian IT company. I cannot not mention, of course, the interaction that Indonesia has with the Eurasian Economic Union. As you may know, Russia is part of the Eurasian Economic Union that includes, besides Russia, our friend and neighbors, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan. So there are 5 of us. So now we're talking on the within Indonesian government on the possibility of establishing an FTA between the Eurasian Economic Union and Indonesia. This kind of arrangements cannot be just solely with Russia, because quite similar to European Union, the Eurasian Economic Union has some supranational institutions that control actually all the things pertaining to custom and trade barriers. So these negotiations are going on, feasibility studies, and if this happens sometime in the future, of course, that will boost tremendously both the trade and investment, and also that will be a great opportunity for Indonesia to enter a market of 500 million people. So we actually enjoy a quite fruitful dialogue in this area of strategic stability, anti-terrorism, international information security, defense. Currently, we are looking forward at the visit of our Secretary General of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, Mr. Nikolai Patrushev, to Jakarta. The Security Council of the Russian Federation is the body that actually coordinates all the agencies that deal with security. And the president of this council is the president himself, who chairs the meetings of the council. So the Security Council of the Russian Federation deals with both domestic issues and international issues. So the counterpart of General Patrushev will be the coordinating minister for security and the political affairs of Indonesia, Bapak Mahfud. And during this dialogue, all the issues pertaining to security in the world and in the region could be discussed. You also know that we enjoy good cooperation in defense. Since General Prabowo Subianto became defense minister, he visited Russia already 3 times. The important component of our defense cooperation are supplies of Russian defense equipment to Indonesia. You use it, it has proved to be good quality, easy to operate, and very affordable. Where also I would like to express our gratitude to General Prabowo, who first time in history of our relations attended last year the military parade in Moscow, dedicated to the 75th anniversary of victory in World War II. It is very important for our country. You know, we called the World War II a great patriotic war. We lost 27 million people in this war, so it was very the gesture that we appreciated very much when General Prabowo attended this military parade, and he was the first defense minister of Indonesia in history to do so. So we thank him very much for doing so. You all know about the agreement reached between our countries to purchase the modern defense fighter Sukhoi 35. There are issues with this contract and also issues involving a third side. Of course, there's a lot of pressure from outside for Indonesia not to have these fighters. But we really appreciate the independent foreign policy of Indonesia. And hopefully this project will be, this contract will go through, because, you know, Indonesia is our friend, and Sukhoi fighters they prove their efficiency in real war conditions actually during our operations in Syria. So, and we want our friends to have the best. So hopefully this contract will go through. Of course, the security cannot also, and it has been mentioned by previous speakers, that humanitarian contacts also are very important. People-to-people contacts are very important. And we're happy that, well, unfortunately, the COVID has also hampered this kind of context, but before COVID, 160,000 Russian tourists visited Bali alone. And we opened direct flights between Moscow and Denpasar that operated 3 times a week. And more Indonesian tourists were visiting Russia. And it is very important, this kind of exchanges, because when tourists start to come to a country, the businesses also follow, and relations improve, of course. For 4 years consequently, the Embassy of Indonesia in Moscow has conducted a cultural festival, and it proved to be tremendously successful among Russian people. The last one before COVID in 2019 attracted more than 100,000 visitors. Hopefully it can be continued after the pandemic. We have good contacts between our religious structures. Of course, you know that in Russia we have around 20 million Muslims, and these people are not only migrants, though we have migrants from Central Asia and other countries, but the majority of these people are Russian nationals who have been living in our country for centuries. We have several regions in Russia, including Tatarstan, Chechnya, Bashkortostan, that are predominantly Muslim. So we had a very good exhibition, Traditions of Islam in Russia, organized in 2019, was very much visited. I think the similarity that we share between Russia and Indonesia in terms of diversity, both countries are multi-ethnic. We have around 70 different ethnic groups and languages. In terms of religion, we have Muslims, we have Christians, we have Russian Orthodox, we have Buddhists. We have 3 million Buddhists living along the border with Mongolia and China. So that also helps to establish this kind of contacts and understanding between our 2 countries. We have tremendous potential in the area of education. You may know that now presently we have 600 Indonesian students studying in Russia. Every year we provide scholarships. Until now, it was around 160 government scholarships for Indonesian students, but there is a very big demand. So hopefully next year this number will be increased, or this quarter will be increased by 100. So more than 260 students will be able to have education in Russia. And this kind of cooperation is also very meaningful, because I don't know a single person who lived and studied in Russia who didn't like our country. So Indonesian students who studied in Russia also become sort of ambassadors of our country in Indonesia. So probably I will not talk anymore, but I think better to have a discussion and not just a monologue from me. So there will be more time for questions. I would just like to conclude that despite the current pandemic, Russian-Indonesian relations are developing. And I'm really confident that in future our joint efforts will lead to strengthening of our bilateral relations, and that will of course benefit the people of two countries. Thank you for your kind attention. Terima kasih.
Sama-sama, Madam Ambassador. Thank you very much for your condensed information. It is not easy to compress the world's architecture as well as our bilateral relations in less than 1 hour. But to quickly summarize and to help guide our discussion forward, basically what we have heard is that first, there is a shifting, the world is undergoing a shifting architecture from the Euro-Atlantic area towards Asia. That is on a macro level, on a general scale. And on the second part is that we can see from Madam Ambassador's remarks that there are layers of security that has been widened during the course of our relations. We have engaged in the health sector, in the energy sector, in the defense sector, in the humanitarian, and even in the cyber sector. So in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, we would like to see on how we can use these sectors in order to recover together, and recover stronger, as we Indonesians say in our global engagement. So with that being said, we would like to open the floor for questions. The way we're going to do this is we're going to take three questions first, and then we will allow Madam Ambassador to answer the question before opening the session for further questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand, or you can write your name in the chat box and we will see if we can take your questions. Okay, we will have several hands up already. We can take the question from Mr. Alvin Febrian Basundoro. Okay, please, yeah.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Madam Ambassador. I have two questions considering on your explanation. Yeah. But first, I would like to thank you for such a comprehensive and sharp explanation, Madam. My questions are, first, you just spoke about the failure of the United States strategy in Afghanistan, that instead of bring peace and stability in the country, the strategy is more like a disruption and destruction to the country, especially for the lives of the civilian, of the society. How Russia will endorse the best strategy to resolve the issue in Afghanistan? And my second question is, as the Indo-Pacific region is growing more volatile in the last year, especially since the establishment of AUKUS alliance between Australia, United States, and United Kingdom, how Russia and Indonesia will work together to foster the partnership to keep the regional stability and further support the independence of Indonesian foreign policy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Alvin. Next, we will go to the chat box, and We welcome Mr. Jonathan Jordan to ask his question.
Thank you, Mr. Tambubolon. Could I speak in Russian for this question?
If you translate the question to English afterwards,
I will
yes,
do.
please.
Okay. Спасибо большое, господин посол. И меня зовут Джонатан. Я только что покончил университет, и сегодня утром было мое время вручения дипломов. И я вспомнил, когда 3 года назад я посетил посольство России в качестве члена FPCI, и сейчас я еще член FPCI, и я очень рад, что может разговаривать с вами. И у меня есть 2 вопроса. Первый вопрос, по-первому, как Россия увидит строительство и экономическое развитие на Дальнем Востоке России, Владивосток, Хабаровск и другие, потому что я думаю, что мы увидим снижение населения Дальнего Востока России, и это нехорошо, чтобы Россия хочет стать один из больших игроков в международные отношения в Азиатско-Океанском регионе. Я думаю, что если Санкт-Петербург был окно в Европу, Владивосток должен стать окно в Азию. Но сейчас где небоскребы в Владивостоке, только старые здания, кроме в Русском острове. И я думаю, что экономическое развитие это очень важно. И как Россия увидит экономическое влияние Китая в Дальнем Востоке России, потому что я где-то читал, что китайское влияние может стать угрозой для России. Это правда или неправда? И второму, это простой вопрос, как и когда будет открыто и восстановлено авиасообщение между Россией и Индонезией? Thank you. This is my question. I would like to translate it into English because I have just received my graduation diploma today, just this morning. So I would like to ask about how can the Russian embassy maybe can accept applications for jobs in this embassy. And I have 2 questions. The first is about the development of Russia's Far East region, because Russia's Far East region is currently underpopulated, and we see that many cities in the Far East have decreasing populations, and this is not good if Russia wants to influence its position in the Asia-Pacific international relation system. And how does Russia view the role of China in developing the Russian Far East? Because I once read that the Chinese influence can become a threat for Russia in the Far East region. Is it true or not true? And the second is a very simple question. When will the airspace between Russia and Indonesia, I mean the entry for Indonesian nationals to visit Russia, can be resumed? Thank you. Большое спасибо.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jonathan Jordan and Mr. Alvin. I think we have a handful of questions to answer for now, so we will welcome Madam Ambassador to answer the questions first before opening the floor for other questions. So please, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you very much for the very interesting questions. We can talk for hours about that. I will try to answer it in a short way. The first question, Mr. Alvin. Yes, indeed, the US failed in Afghanistan, and there is a total mess and disruption, and we all see the awful news reports on how abruptly the US troops left Afghanistan and what is happening now. I would like to say that, of course, we learned our lessons from our own history of relations with Afghanistan. You know, for 10 years, the Soviet troops were in Afghanistan, and left. Entered in 1979, left in 1989. But I can tell you, actually, the exit of our troops from Afghanistan was very well prepared. It didn't happen in this messy way like it happened with the US. It took 1 year for the Soviet Union to pull our troops from Afghanistan. Well, but it's a total different story, of course. We are carefully monitoring what is happening now in this country. Of course, the situation in Afghanistan is of concern for us because it's near it's happening near our borders, and if there is a lot of refugees going to neighboring countries of Afghanistan, which have quite a porous border with Russia, then we will see a problem. Yesterday only there was a meeting of our organization of collective defense that includes Russia and countries that are neighbors with Afghanistan, and the situation in Afghanistan was discussed during this summit. For now, for the time being, we're taking a very cautious position because we still need to see what will be the actions of the new government of Afghanistan. Of course, we need to keep communication. We still have an embassy. We haven't withdrawn our embassy from Afghanistan. Our ambassador is there. Actually, declarations that are made by the Taliban government could be acceptable, but these are declarations. We need to see how it will be developing in real life. So as for now, we are looking and waiting and seeing what will be happening to take necessary measures to ensure the security of our countries. You mentioned the new defense alliance or the new defense pact that has been so unexpectedly declared by the three countries, the US, Australia, and the United Kingdom. Of course, it's quite a new situation for Indonesia and all ASEAN country, and the question is how the appearance of nuclear-powered submarines correspond to the plans of ASEAN to have a nuclear-free zone in Southeast Asia, and what will be the next steps of this kind of policy, because of course now there are promises from the parties involved in this agreement that there will be no nuclear arms on this submarines, but whether it will be true or not, that remains a question. So that has a potential to create a totally new situation in the Asia Pacific, and actually the only way that I see to ensure the security of all countries, especially ASEAN, but all countries in the region in this potentially dangerous situation, is to promote dialogue and discuss all these issues, be it bilaterally or, as I said, in the framework of inclusive international forums, especially the United Nations. Between Russia and Indonesia, we have all sorts of mechanisms, intergovernmental, to discuss all the issues concerning security. So we can consult and discuss and see how we can also ensure security of our both countries. But this situation is still developing, and we need to assess all the implications of this situations, because it happened very recently, and how in real life this will impact all the countries in the region, the Asia Pacific region. I'm very impressed by the questions in Russian. Thank you very much. Your Russian is very good. And also the questions are very interesting. What is Russia's strategies in developing our Far Eastern regions? Indeed, we need to focus more on the development of our Far Eastern regions, and this is one of the priorities of our government. We have special strategies and programs to develop our Far Eastern regions, and it is obvious to us that we cannot do so without being an integral part of the Asia Pacific region, without cooperating tightly with our regions, with our partners in the region, including China, Japan, South Korea, and of course ASEAN, including Indonesia. You may know that we have a yearly event held in Vladivostok, which is the Far Eastern Economic Forum, and the goal of this, the main target of organizing this forum is to actually develop our economic relations with our Asian partners, with the focus on Far Eastern region. You're absolutely right. When St. Petersburg was established as a window to Europe, the same Vladivostok could be our window to Asia, and it's one of our government priorities. We don't, on your question about China, we don't see our Chinese partners as a threat to the Far Eastern or any other regions of Russia. You know that we are strategic partners with China. Our relations have never been better in the history. They are on the rise. Our leaders meet annually. We share similar views on most of the issues of global agenda. We are, both of our countries are members of the UN Security Councils, where we work tightly together. So no, we don't see China as a threat. On the contrary, we see China as our partner who can help us to develop the Far Eastern regions of our country, as we also are cooperating with China in development of Chinese regions that are near to Russia's border. And the last question, can you remind me about the entrance of Indonesian nationals to Russia?
Yes, two, roughly.
Sorry?
Two, roughly.
I don't quite.
Two.
To Russia?
Yes.
So how, when Indonesians will be able to enter to Russia?
Yes.
I see. Okay. So so far, because of the COVID situation, we don't accept non-essential travel. So basically, only holders of diplomatic and service passports can be are able to travel to Russia without a visa. Diplomats and people who have Indonesian nationals who have service passports can enter Russia without visa and without quarantine. You only need to have a PCR test in advance and also to take a PCR test on arrival. Members of official delegations and who are invited by Russian federal agencies also can enter Russia, but they will need visas. Unfortunately for tourists or people who don't have invitations from Russian Federal Agency, it is nearly impossible to enter Russia at the moment because the COVID pandemic is far from ending. Currently, we have around 17,000 cases per day, which is much more than in Indonesia. So hopefully the situation will improve. And actually, we've been working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia on a visa agreement that will make the issuing of visas for Indonesian nationals much easier when this agreement will be signed. But until it will happen only after the pandemic is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. We will open the second session of the question and answers. We will be accepting questions. First one being from Mr. Apridio. Please.
Okay, thank you so much. First, it's my audible here.
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Okay, this emphasis for Madam Ambassador. As we know that the economic fallout in the amid of COVID-19, ongoing of the global public health crisis, as we know that we wonder how are that the global power dynamics and then the economic strategies diplomacy to tackle it affected by the COVID-19 towards the diplomacy in Indonesia and Russia. Okay, thank you.
Could you repeat the question?
Okay. How is the global power and dynamics, and then how's that the economic diplomacy strategies to tackle the current conditions of the COVID-19 towards the diplomacy Indonesian and Russia?
I suppose that question. You can hear the question clearly, yeah, Madam Ambassador. Yeah? Okay. Next, we will hear from Miss Natalia. Please, your questions, please.
Hi, hello, Madam Ambassador. I have a question regarding shipping parcel from Indonesia to Russia, because I've been wondering what's the problem that until now I couldn't able to do a shipping parcel from Indonesia to Russia, and they say have a problem there in Russia where they couldn't do this process. So yeah, just that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And last one, we will hear questions from Mas Dimas Akmal Nurul Hadi. Please.
Thank you, Moderator, for the opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, Mrs. Lyudmila Vorobyova. I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Dimas Akmal Nurul Hadi. I'm from Faculty of Law, Universitas Indonesia. It is a pleasure to meet you, Uchenrat Pastokomita Swami. I only have one question at the moment. You earlier mentioned that Russia is against the foreign policy that is done by the Western allies by maintaining their unilateral domination. And my question is, what is the Russian strategy for effective diplomacy without showing dominance to the sovereignty of a certain country? Thank you, and thank you for your answers. Спасибо за ваш ответ.
Thank you. With that, please, Madam Ambassador, you may have the time.
Yeah, thank you for also very interesting questions. as I understood, the first question was about how the, to put it in different terms, how the economic cooperation between Russia and Indonesia can help the economic recovery of both our countries, and what are the strategies. Well, it is, of course, the COVID pandemic has badly hurt the global economy, that is evident, and the Russian economy as well, but Russian economy is recovering. We expect that we will have growth maybe by 2% by the end of the year. So Indonesian economy is recovering as well. And of course, the more economic and trade cooperation we have, the better it will be for both of our countries. And the areas that we can explore to boost our cooperation, of course, I mentioned some of them, and they're very numerous. One way also to improve our bilateral trade relations is to remove any artificial barriers that exist. From Russian side, we'll say that Indonesia has a big surplus in trade with Russia. That means that our government creates very good conditions for conducting business in our country and for Indonesian products to come into our country. We hope that that could be the same with the Russian products coming to Indonesia. Well, the other way, of course, is to diversify the products that we buy and we sell from each other, and focus more on high technology products. For instance, civil aviation. You know that in Russia we are constructing aircrafts, new generation aircrafts that could be used in Indonesia. It's middle range aircrafts, totally new ones like MS-21. We are ready to share the technologies and to transfer our technologies in this area. So that is one. Shipbuilding also, nuclear energy, conventional energy like hydro energy. Indonesia has a very big potential in that. And in Russia, we also use a lot of hydro energy plants, because we have a lot of rivers, and this energy, this kind of plants and stations are very much used in Russia. So the potential is there, but we need, of course, to explore more. And fortunately, one of the things is that maybe there's a lack of information on what we can offer to each other, not enough. We need to improve that. I would also like to mention that we have actually intergovernment mechanism to boost our cooperation. It's a joint intergovernmental commission on economic cooperation, chaired from your side by Minister Erlangga Hartarto, and from our side by Minister Manturov, who is the Minister of Trade and Industry. So this is a perfect place to sit together for government officials and also business people, and to discuss what we can do together. So my idea is the better cooperation we enjoy, the better it will be for the economies of both countries, and in the final run for the prosperity of people of our two countries. On the questions about parcels from Indonesia to Russia, really, I was not aware that there were problems with that. Maybe if you leave us your details, we can look what could be the problem. It can be with the customs, because and maybe it cannot. It's not. You know, we have a custom union also with other countries, and we have custom regulations inside the common customs regulation inside the Eurasian Economic Union. It may be that the problem lies within the custom clearance of the parcel. I cannot tell, or maybe transportation. I cannot ask you the question because I cannot answer this question because I was not aware that there were problems with that. If we can help you with that, we will happily do so. And the third question on the Western dominance and what are the strategies of Russia, how to lead an efficient foreign policies without dominating. That's a very good question indeed. You know, unfortunately, I would say that last 500 years, the world international relations were based on dominance of a group of countries, which are very used to this kind of situation, and they are not willing to the situation to change. It is changing. It's a process they cannot control, but they're not willing to lose this dominance, and they use all kind of and they make all kind of efforts to prevent our world becoming a truly multilateral place. But it's a process that they cannot stop, because the more powerful in terms of economy and finance, the new emerging centers are becoming, the more influential they are getting in the international political affairs. And I mean China, of course, I mean ASEAN countries, I mean Latin American countries, I mean Russia, of course. In Russia, as if you listened carefully in my presentation, I think I tried to actually highlight this idea. We think that the only way is to make our world a better place is to promote the ideas of multilateralism, and that the interests of all countries should be respected. That no one in this world has right to order and to coerce or other countries to comply with the orders of such or such country. And the respect of all countries' interests could only be reached through inclusive multilateral mechanisms such as the United Nations or G20, or organizations like Shanghai Cooperation Organization or Eurasian Economic Union. And for Russia, it is absolutely obvious that that is the only way for the world and the international relations to develop without falling into, well, to put it into war. That's what we're trying to prevent, of course. You know, I'm often asked why Russia is always presented in the by Western countries as the evil, or Russians are always the bad guys. Actually, the answer is very simple, because we want our national interests to be respected. We don't want to follow the orders from anyone, be it Washington, Brussels, or any other countries. We're open for dialogue and cooperation with everyone, but we're not receiving orders. We are trying to talk to other countries on an equal basis. We want partners, we want friends, and not someone who will tell us what to do. So this is the answer to your question. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 10 minutes remaining. With that, I will just take the two remaining questions and put in just one question from us, actually. So let us hear from Mr. Abel Josaphat.
Thank you, moderator. I would like to raise a question to Madam Ambassador. It's an open question regarding her opinion about the future of Indonesia and Russia bilateral relations in the face of the growing regional escalation as shown in the Asia-Pacific problem and the global challenge presented by COVID-19. Will the relation among the two nations prevail and reach the light at the end of the tunnel, or will it reach into a stagnation? Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Mr. Gabriel Bernaldi, please.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Good evening, good afternoon, Madam Ambassador. My question has to do with the cooperation between Indonesia and Russia in the field of counterterrorism. As we know, both Indonesia and Russia has faced many terrorist attacks in the past, but Russia, ever since the end of the Second Chechen War, the number of terrorist attacks in Russia have decreased significantly. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, we are still facing a loss of terrorist attacks even during the pandemic. Earlier this year, in March, we have the church bombings in Makassar, and the worst, in my opinion, is that our national police headquarters in Jakarta were under attack. So I'm considering what efforts have been made or will be made between Indonesia and Russia in the field of counterterrorism, because Russia, in my opinion, is very effective in handling terrorism, especially with their FSB. So I was hoping there could be some kind of joint exercise or joint training between the Russian counterterrorism unit and Indonesia, for example, Detachment 88. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Probably a last question from us to wrap the question and answer session. Madam Ambassador, you mentioned in regards to on how the world should adhere more to multilateral mechanisms that are based on law instead of rules-based order. Do you think that also applies to our backyard in Southeast Asia, in Natuna Sea, in the South China Sea? And how do you think, what are your thoughts on the ongoing process of the code of conduct in that regard? Thank you very much. And I suppose we welcome Madam Ambassador to answer our questions.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm being ambassador of Russian Federation to Indonesia, I cannot say anything but that I think that the future of our relations is very bright. Actually, it is my job to ensure if I say that the future, that we don't have future, I need to quit my job and to return to Moscow immediately. But seriously speaking, I really think that I'm very sincere in saying that I really think that the future of our relations is very good because first of all, we share we have similar values. We share the views on what is going on in the world. Our foreign policies, both of Russia and Indonesia, are independent. We don't seek dominance. We seek partnership and dialogue. We have economic relations that are developing in a positive way. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking to signing of declarations on strategic partnership when our president visits your country. So based on that, I have no doubts that our bilateral relations will be very good. And also for many years, our relations have been based on friendship and trust. I can assure you that if you ask an average Russian in Moscow, in the street, what do you think about Indonesia? or Indonesians, the answer will be, oh, it's a wonderful country, it's our friend, we know Bali, we remember very well the 60s when we were very close. So I see no actually barriers or issues that cannot be, we don't have any political issues between our two countries. We can solve all the minor problems that we encounter, say, in trade by dialogue and cooperation. So the future is very good. I'm very sure about that. A very good question about, thank you so much, about counterterrorism. Indeed, Russia has reached, well, I would say success in combating terrorism. For the last 4 years, we didn't have a single terrorist attack in our country. The latest big massive terrorist attack happened as long ago as 2011, if I'm not mistaken, in Domodedovo airport in Moscow, where 37 people died. The latest one was in 2017 in St. Petersburg in the underground, but it was not that, fortunately, well, they were victims, but not that many. So yes, we have a good experience in combating terrorism. And we have a dialogue and cooperation in this area with the relevant authorities in Indonesia. For instance, we provide training courses in anti-terrorism for national police officers. Actually, this year, it's on a yearly basis. This year, they will start, I think, in the end of September, and representatives from Indonesian National Police will join these courses. They're provided by the Federal Security Service of Russian Federation, who is responsible for domestic security in our country. So we're also discussing these issues in the framework of our consultations between the Security Council and your coordinating ministry for political and security affairs. So this is an ongoing dialogue, and we're ready to share our experience with our Indonesian friends and partners, because it is evident that this kind of threat cannot be dealt with just by one country. Only joint efforts of international community and dialogue could help to prevent human losses because of terrorist attacks. On South China Sea issue, I can only tell you that both China and ASEAN are strategic partners of our country, so we urge both sides to resolve all the issues by dialogue and by consultations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. With that being said, I would like to wrap up the question and answer session by summarizing what we have heard today. In essence, that we can agree that peace and security is the bedrock for a strong COVID-19 recovery. In that regard, Indonesia and Russia security nexus exists on many levels. At the very core of our foreign policy, our views are aligned in that we seek to uphold peace based on active and independent participation through multilateral approaches. This is evident by various instances based on our engagement in the Security Council, based on our active engagement in global issues such as Afghanistan. At the regional level, we also are aligned in that there needs to be dialogue and inclusive participation of parties to resolve regional issues, such as in the South China Sea, because there are linkages we have nexus between Indonesia and Russia in terms of regional issues as in the fields of energy, in the fields of security in general. And then at the bilateral level, as said by Madam Ambassador, there are many, many issues that we share interests with between Indonesia and Russia, from energy to economy, to investment and trade, and to health. And with that, a way forward for Russia and Indonesia is to seek to diversify our engagement with each other and to intensify our engagement as well. With that being said, we would like to thank Madam Ambassador once again. We also acknowledge that, again, Russia is currently having its federal elections. We wish you all the best on your turnout, on all the results. May the results yield better cooperation between Indonesia and Russia. We wish you all the best. Thank you very much. I give the floor back to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Kak Eki and Madam Ambassador, for the lecturing session. It was very insightful, and we all hope all participants get deeper knowledge from the discussion earlier.
Yes, exactly, Batur. And also, we would like to inform for the 3 participants, for the Jonathan Jordan and Dimas Akmal Nurul Hadi and Alvin Fabian Rosando, who winning the best question at the Q&A session will be contacted later by our committee to claim the prize. And moving right along, we are going to give some virtual certificate for Excellency Ms. Eci Lyudmila Vorobyova. And also, we would like to give the certificate for Kak Eki as our thankful expression. Maybe Kak Yasmin want to say something to the speaker and moderator?
Thank you, first of all, for Her Excellency Mrs. Lyudmila for sparing your time and also for your willingness to fulfill our event. This is such an honor for us, FVCI Chapter UNPAD, for cooperating with your embassy. We wish we can meet face to face, maybe in the future event. Thank you, Mrs. Lyudmila.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Is there any documentation? Okay.
Okay. I will take the photo in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And next, also we will move to certificate for the moderator. Yep.
Okay, and also thank you so much for Kak Eki for guiding us, for making the discussion session very interesting and become very fruitful. We hope we can cooperate in the future later. Thank you, Kak.
Okay, let me take the photo in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
All right. Once again, we would like to say thank you to Her Excellency Mrs. Lyudmila and Kak Eki for taking the time to discuss an amazing session. Now, because we have listened to Mrs. Lyudmila and have already finished the Q&A session, I want to ask some participants, how do you feel about participating in this year's tea time? Is there any special message, impression, or any feedback? Let's talk for a minute. Should anyone wants to volunteer, you could use the raise hand feature. Does anyone want to talk a bit with me?
Come on, guys, don't be shy.
All right. Hello, Kak Grace Fiona. How are you?
I'm good. Hello, Mrs. Ambassador. It is such an honor to be able to listen to your presentation. I received so many things that I needed so far about Russian and Indonesian relations. So it's really good time for me. And thank you so much for FPCI Chapter UNPAD for holding this such amazing talk. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kak Grace Fiona.
Okay, once again, thank you so much for Kak Grace Fiona. And next, anyone want to be a volunteer again to tell us the maybe experience or impression for joining this event?
Maybe, Madam Ambassador, you could incentivize them by offering scholarships. Maybe they could then be in, maybe then they would say a word or two.
Okay.
No problem. We have a cultural center in Jakarta, in Jalan Diponegoro. You can contact our cultural center. They'll give you all information about scholarships in Russia. Those who are interested, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. And so we have Alvin Febrian Basundoro. Hello, Alvin.
Okay, yeah. Hello, MC. I would like to thank you, Mrs. Ambassador, for such comprehensive and this opportunity to have a dialogue with us, the students of Indonesia from Universitas Padjadjaran especially. And yeah, I hope it will increase our partnership and our cultural relationship, especially because Russia and Indonesia had conducted more than 70 years of relationship, and this is a kind of a good commemoration for both of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Alvin. And the last one is maybe Yandika. So Yandika, hello. Okay, Yandika, are you with us? Okay, maybe. Okay, so maybe Yandika is having trouble, maybe. So moving to Malvin Maulana. Okay, Malvin, hello. Sorry, the microphone is, you still, yeah.
Miss Ambassador, I would like to say thank you for this Zoom meeting. It was my first time and I'm nervous right now, very, very nervous. But yeah, I would like to say thank you for this meeting. I wish I may come to Russian embassy face to face, but I can't. But I really wish. And it's my best experience because it was my first time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Malvin. And thank you very much to the participant who attended at the tea time with Ambassador this year. Also, we would like to spill some tea. We would like to inform you guys. Okay, so we would like to inform you guys that the regular wave registration delegates FPCI UNPAD MUN is already open. So if you guys want to try become the delegates of MUN, kindly access the form bit.ly/FPCI UNPAD MUN register to gain more experience. So once again, if you guys want to try to become the delegates of MUN, kindly access the form bit.ly/FPCI UNPAD MUN to gain more experience. And okay, that's all from us. I'm Muarif.
And I'm Fatur.
As the MC of the event, representing the moderator and the whole committee, from the deepest of our heart, we do apologize if there are any mistakes during the event.
Once again, this is the end from our event. Thank you very much for your kind attention. May our paths cross again. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. See you next year.
See you next year.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Mrs.
Thank you
Ambassador.
so much. Miss.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Madam Ambassador. Thank
Good
you,
day,
guys. Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
For the participants, you are welcome to leave the room. Thank you.